Hello and welcome to First Geek 411. This is a very special episode where we're going to be chatting about our favorite Zendikar Rising cards, the latest Magic the Gathering set. With me, as always, is my best man, Chris Nicolay. Chris, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm excited. This is new. It's gonna be nice to have the visual aspect where we can actually show off the card that we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Like, this is our first Magic the Gathering top set since we've switched to doing Twitch. So I'm excited.
I guess you're a little
fix
poppy,
my microphone.
but hopefully that will sort itself out. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I have been having some mic issues lately, so
might have to buy a new cable. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
but
we were playing D&D the other night, and it was apparently kind of poppy while we were doing that. But so I need to troubleshoot some more, but we'll get that figured out. So before we get into our top cards from this set, listeners, as always, you can find us on our social media, which is OneGeek411 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our PlayStation community. You can also join our Discord server to chat with us between shows or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can check out our show notes on our website, onegeek411.com. And we are live every Monday night at 7:15 Mountain Time. And we do a post-stream chat with anyone that's hanging around. Then you can find the videos later on our YouTube. Then you can rate and subscribe, of course, wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. Chris, I hope you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. I think I have a lot of tabs open in this yes. window. It's great. I don't know what they say, but we hope we have them in the right order, so we don't.
You got to believe.
Jump
if
ahead.
I've learned anything about First Geek 411 3.0, it's that you just got to believe. So before we get
welcome
into,
that you just get to believe.
Yes, I just get to believe. You get to do the work. So before we get into our top 10 cards, let's go over the mechanics that are in this latest set, as well as a little bit of the theme. So this is our third set on the Magic plane of Zendikar. It was originally themed as the Adventure World, but it had a secret. We can do like spirit fingers for secret. And that secret was the Eldrazi were under the plane making a mess. And once they got woken up, bad things happened. And then we had to battle them while we were on Zendikar. And that led to a set that a lot of people didn't like because it wasn't like the other Zendikar. And so now we're coming back to Adventure World. It's about not as much about like quests and stuff as I was hoping, but we'll might get into a little bit about why that is once we get to our mechanics. But yeah, so we have these huge floating land masses. We have giant monsters. We have all this stuff. And the first two mechanics that we have are returning mechanics. The first one is Landfall, which is the classic Zendikar mechanic of whenever you play a land, you do something. And so it might be play a land, gain a life. It might be play a land, your creatures get +1/+1. It might be play a land, you get a bunch of stuff based on the number of lands you played. Tease that one for later. So that is our first mechanic. And Chris, what is our other returning mechanic?
Our second returning mechanic is one that I have built a commander deck around. So I'm really excited for this set, which is Kicker. Kicker essentially has an additional mana cost printed on the card that says, if you pay this as you cast your card, another effect happens. It's not a requirement to pay to do anything. Otherwise, the spell just casted with it essentially adds a second form or changes some of the text potentially on some Kicker cards. But yeah, it's really cool. There's a Kicker commander, Halar, who whenever you cast a kick spell, he gets a +1/+1 counter and does damage to each opponent equal to the number of counters on him.
Yeah, so
good.
I feel like I say this every time we do a top 10, but I feel like the more and more we do, the more and more like going through these lists, it's like, well, I don't want to take that card because I know that's one Chris will like. Especially once it was revealed that Kicker was in this set. I just knew like you would be so happy for Kicker to be back.
Well, it's more so that like because of my Kicker EDH deck is combined to Gruul. I mean, there's Kicker is a 5-color mechanic itself, so this expansion just allows me to hopefully level out a lot of my deck, because a lot of it's just like, well, this is in my colors and it is Kicker.
Yeah.
So I guess it fits.
Our next two mechanics are both, I would say, brand new. One of them, this first one's a little bit more like what we've seen, and that is modal double face cards. And so these are cards. They are typically instant sorceries or lands, or instant sorceries or creatures on one side, and then on the other side, they are lands. So you might have one that is a counterspell on the front or a land on the back. You might have one that like destroys a bunch of things or is a land on the back. And in general, the way that these work is if the card is an uncommon or rare, the land enters tapped. But then if it is mythic, you can pay 3 mana to have it come in untapped.
Or 3 life on some.
3 life, yes. Not 3 mana.
Okay.
Good catch, Chris.
It hurts you.
Yes, it hurts you. So lightning bolt for a 1. And all of these are single color land, except for the rare cycle, which is 1 color of land on the front and another color on the back. So it's a very interesting set of cards. And while we've had transform and double face cards before, this is our first time having lands like in this way, where you can actually just play it as the land, compared to like the Ixalan double face cards that have to transform to get the land.
Yeah.
And then Chris, I hope you bought your Switch.
Because it's a staple at parties. It's like, I don't know how to respond. I wasn't prepared. So the last mechanic, I guess it's not like a mechanic in itself, but it's looking for specific things. So now this is like this is kind of a precursor, I guess. This is the first kind of thing we're seeing relating to, since we are going to be seeing more of a D&D set come back to MTG. We've seen it go the other way, but now we're finally seeing it come back. But the fourth mechanic is party. Numbers are hard. Which is just looking at a party essentially consists of a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. So a lot of the effects are reducing costs due to like how much of your party you have filled. It's only looking for one of each. So it's looking for 1 cleric, 1 rogue, 1 warrior, 1 wizard for a full party. I like this. So this is also kind of an allusion back to an original Zendikar mechanic also, because we're also seeing one of the old characters feature this primary mechanic, and that is ally. So some of them are even looking at if it's looking to pull something from your deck or whichever, it also does include and or ally card on some of them. But yeah, a party. So cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, and when you have a complete party, sometimes crazy things happen.
My general take on this mechanic is that the cards that need that do something when you have a full party are probably not going to happen too much. But the majority of the cards that especially have reduced cost based on you having creatures in your party are going to be really fun.
Yes.
And so, and then it's important too that a creature can only count as 1 member of your party.
Yeah, right.
So even if you do have a creature that is a cleric warrior, it only counts as 1, but you get to choose which one.
It's one or the other. So if you only have a straight warrior, now you have a cleric on the field too. Boom.
When this mechanic was first revealed, a bunch of people were really hyped about changelings because everyone thought that your changeling would just count as all 4. But
no,
unfortunately, that's not how it works.
1 per creature. But fortunately, changelings are still good because you get to pick which one they are applying to. So, I mean, they've guaranteed fill 1 of the 4 slots, which is cool.
Right.
So, I mean, a changeling party deck.
Yeah. So I have
no
on
party
MTGO
like party.
Ain't no party like a changeling party. on MTGO, I have a tribal deck, which is built around Reaper King and Changelings. And so with the idea that it plays a bunch of Lords and a bunch of Changelings, and while I have not played MTGO in a long time, because Arena, but like a bunch of these party cards are like, oh man, I really want to put them in, but I had to play MTGO. So alas.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. But that brings us into our top 10. For anyone who is new, the way that these work is that we have each brought 10 cards. We are not professional players. We'll typically discuss why we think these cards are relevant or why we just like them. And so on my end, I tend to come at this from the lens of Commander, Modern, Historic, and a little bit of Standard. And then, Chris, how do you come at these cards?
I come at these cards almost exclusively from an EDH or just like cards I like for the most part. Sometimes if I feel like a set's going to be really limited heavy, I may throw in a few cards that may be really good and limited. But in general, I'm looking for single cards that are going to complement decks I already own or cool mechanics that I want to build decks around for EDH.
Sounds good. So with that, let's jump into our first card. Chris, since you are clicking, who is first?
You are first.
Okay, so my first card is one of my favorite characters on the plane of Zendikar, and I'm super excited that she is back. And that is Drana, the Last Blood Chief, for 3 black, legendary creature, vampire cleric. She is a flying 4/4, and when Drana attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. You may return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. That creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. So I'm a big Edgar Markov fan. And any chance that, like, for reanimation in that type of deck is super good because that's really where you want to be as aggro. Granted, like, with this card, you don't get to choose what you get back. So there's only, like you're probably going to get your worst creature the majority of the time, but it'll come back with a +1/+1 counter. It'll come back better than it previously was. And while I don't think this is going to see a spot in Marchesa, it does also have that +1/+1 counter synergy. That's something like Marchesa would be looking for.
I mean, it's pretty good. Also, if you can find a way to spread out damage too, I mean, there's ways that ultimately when you deal combat damage, you now do damage. Or like if you can, I guess, never mind. That doesn't work because it is when it attacks. Never mind. Misread that.
It does turn out really good with Helm of the Host.
Yes. That's, I guess that's really the only way to get around that is to create multiple copies of her that end up attacking multiple opponents. So now you can ultimately get hopefully maybe 3, like 2, 3 at a turn per attack phase. If you could turn on multiple attack phases, which black and red, I mean, boom.
Right.
But still, yeah. Good to see Drana back. Not really, but good to see her back.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, you know this card's going to be across the table from you at some point.
Yes, exactly. And it's not like it's not like crazy intimidating.
Right.
But there are times like when it's like, no. Stop it. Fortunately, it's non-legendary. But then again, your vampires mostly are non-legendary with a few exceptions of the legendary staples. Gonna have to play some counters to just make everything legendary.
Yeah, I like that.
Like I don't have to pick anything. As for me, my first card is the Leyline Tyrant. And it is a 2 and 2 red creature. Dragon creature. And I love this card because it does something that red kind of needs, sort of. It's pseudo ramp, or you can save up for giant spells, because you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. So this is nice because you just store it, save it for next turn, tap everything out so you can save it so you don't have to. Granted, red doesn't like to hoard, keep mana up in general, so now you don't have to worry about wasting anything with Leyline Tyrant out. It is a 4/4 flying dragon, so I mean, good dragon, standard dragon, 4/4 for 4 flying, seems good. But the last piece is when Leyline Tyrant dies, you may pay any amount of red mana. When you do, it deals that much damage to any target.
Yeah. So I really like this as a curve topper for like an aggressive red deck, as like a 2 or 3 of. And so you just have like, you've played all your hasty 1/1s or whatever, get to 4 mana, drop this, and then like you probably don't have cards in your hand anymore. And so now anytime that you draw a spell you can't cast, you just start banking that mana. And now you have this ticking time bomb of this giant 4/4 that's going to blast your opponent when it dies.
I love it. Love it so much. It's just so nice to be able to hoard. Granted, we've seen this mechanic before, but typically it converts your mana to a colorless. Or we saw Omnath, which makes it more powerful, but you empty it based on the 1/1 counters on Omnath. Or no.
It's just it gets mana, or it gets +1/+1 for every
mana in your mana pool. Right, and it doesn't go away, which is fine. But I just like this one that it like ultimately has a purpose down the road if you can't use it, and they get rid of it. Otherwise, you have mana sitting and available at any given moment, which is just good for red. Just it's not necessarily ramp, but it is efficient use of your mana. Right. It allows you to more efficiently use your mana, which is super nice.
And also you can't really go wrong with a 4/4 flying for 4.
It's true. Like in general, just that alone. And now you get to save your mana and get to blow something up with it eventually, hopefully. Whether you throw a sack outlet to prevent them from exiling or something, you know. This might be one of my favorite cards. Red has... I picked a lot of red cards in this set, and it's because red just is getting some cool stuff, fortunately. But yeah, and Cameron, what's your second card?
It happens to be a red card, and happens to be good with Leyline Tyrant, and that's Nahiri's Lithoformane for X red. It's a sorcery. You can sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrificed this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tapped. And then this is also my shout out for my favorite art in the set by Campbell White. I really like this art. Like, there's a part of me that wants to get a print of this, and because I have like a spot on my wall here, or I could get rid of the giant woody Kingdom Hearts thing. So
this picture, right? So are you talking about this alt? Like, is the art on the same? Is this just the full?
Yes, it's the same art. Okay. It's just bigger on the.
Right. Okay. Like aesthetically, it just reminds me of Korra. Yeah,
maybe that's why I like it. Is that it is very Avatar.
Like if Korra was just exclusively firebending at the time, like this is what this picture is, and it looks great. And yeah, like just her, like just the form and everything in this picture definitely reminds me of Korra. But this is it's great because it's card draw,
right,
and kind of reset your hand a little bit, as well as you have a potential to not waste the lands you sacrificed.
Right.
Which is super nice.
Yeah, so I'm eyeing this for my Perforos deck because like you get to the point late game where you do tend to have a lot of lands and not a lot of a hand. And so just that ability to be like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice 4 lands, draw 4 cards, and just see where we're at from there and just kind of spin the wheel. And so, or even draw or like 6 lands or 8 lands or whatever. And so I'm a huge fan of this. I'm super hyped that we have Nahiri back, even though I'm not like crazy hyped on the card. Or the card for Nahiri.
Nahiri itself just is a very Boros card,
right?
Which isn't bad. That's what Nahiri is, but so it's not terrible. Right. But it's not in any of our lists, so worth mentioning.
But that's my number 2.
My next card. Speaking of lithoforming, I picked the Lithoform engine.
Whoa.
This was not actually planned. It actually just worked out together that the listing, as I opened the images, it just worked out this way. But Lithoform engine is just a copy card. It's great, and it's not super expensive. It's a 4-cost legendary artifact. It has 3 separate tap abilities. It has a 2 and a tap copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy, which is just alone, like, we've seen so many, like, or we don't have a lot of copy activator trigger abilities mechanics, so that is super nice. I mean, we do have some artifacts that double, like, ETB triggers and things of the sort, but this is nice. This is definitely going at Nilharg.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It has 3 and a tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, I mean, a 3 and a tap for a copy is actually really good too, especially once you start, if you have big spells on the stack. And then 4 and tap, copy target permanent spell you control. Ruling on that, it enters as a token. So you create a token of a target creature or spell on the stack. So, yeah.
Which, yeah, I'm really excited about. Like that last line, the being able to, like, even if they counter your thing, you can make a copy of it. And then the fact that it's any permanent spell. Like, I feel like we haven't, there's a lot of, like, a creature enters the battlefield, make a copy, make a token copy. But I feel like there's not a ton of that for, like, especially enchantments. And then also, I mean, it won't work great because of their legendary, but, like, you can copy planeswalkers with this.
Yes.
Again, they're legendary, so it's not going to work great, but technically possible.
I mean, it helps for protection, though.
Yeah.
I mean, protection against counters, as you previously mentioned. It's like, oh, you counter it? Well, I copy it and I get it anyway. Okay. Granted, you have to do this all on the stack because it's not a spell once it enters. But, I mean, yeah, being able to copy any permanent that you're casting protects those big, troublesome enchantments that are just obnoxious or generate way too much value. Copying, I mean, I don't even know what. Copying artifacts as they enter, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, having multiple strong, especially in Commander. I mean, oh, let me make a copy of my Swiftfoot boots.
Right.
Or anything like that. It's like, okay, now I get multiple Swiftfoot boots, which you don't get to utilize. So being able to copy things as they do anything is awesome. So yeah, Lithoform engine, awesome. And also the art's pretty cool. Yeah, has its place.
Speaking of copying things, my next card is our first modal double face card, and it's a clone. So it's a Glasspool Mimic, 2 and a blue for a creature, shapeshifter, rogue. You may have Glasspool Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a shapeshifter rogue in addition to its other types. And then on the other side is Glasspool Shore, which is a land that enters tapped and can tap for blue mana. And so I really like this, especially for the fact that it retains the rogue creature type when it becomes a clone of something. So you still get those party shenanigans. Yeah, you still get all that stuff. And you can turn a card that is a vampire warrior into a vampire warrior shapeshifter rogue. And then now you have a creature that you can shift around based on that. And then if you get to a point in the game where you can't clone something, since this can only clone your own creatures, you got to land. And so
let's look
I really
at that
like
land.
Yep.
It's just a standard tap for blue. Enters tapped.
Right.
If you play it, but I like this idea. This actually really helps with like planning your curve a little more in EDH. So yeah, I like that. I mean,
you can
they're
also
not great
technically
lands.
play a landless deck because you can play only the modal double face cards as
That's
your
true.
lands. And so, will that be good? Probably not, but it is technically possible.
So ultimately, these modal lands, though, are what is going to make limited troublesome.
Yeah.
Because you have both additional spells and lands for mana fixing when you need them. It's like, oh, I don't have this mana, but I drew this spell. I can't cast it anyway. I'm going to play it as land. It fixes my mana for when I draw something else. I would almost, like, in limited, I think what you were saying is a no land deck. If you can get a full deck of just these modal lands, I think you'd be okay.
That's a lot of spells. Like having 40 spells in your deck compared to the normal 23.
But you also have 40 lands.
Right.
It has potential. Like I'm not. It's probably not going to be any good unless you get like crazy pulls in the modal field. But still wouldn't be half bad. Like I think someone's going to surprise someone with a deck like that. It'd be a very surprising deck to just. It is what it is. My next card is kind of changing things up a little bit. Is Angel of Destiny, because of course this is something I like these types of mechanics. Ultimately, Angel of Destiny is a 5 cost, so 3 and 2 white for a 2/6 flying double strike angel cleric. It's a lot of words. So 2/6, nothing crazy, but double strike, so technically 4/6. But whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. So you don't do damage to your opponents, really, because this is like a double way of two-way street here. So you do the damage, they gain the life back. That's fine. But ultimately, what the kicker is at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attack this turn loses the game.
Yeah, this is the most U card in the set. Like, this is one that I thought was really cool, but I did not pick for my top 10 because I knew it would be on yours.
Like, I really wasn't expecting to pick this card. I was like, oh, Angel of Destiny. I'm like, I'm a little over angels here and there, you know? But then I read it and I was like, oh. This is also like great in like a kind of group hug deck. Hey, you want me to hit you? I mean, like it's that double blade. It's like, okay, he has double strike. He is flying, so he has evasion. But also like I'm not technically doing damage to you. So, but if I manage to gain a ton of life and I end up at, so like in limited, if I end up at 35 life, I go to my end step, you're done. 55 obviously in commander, which is doable. They're, like if you built a deck
that's not
around,
crazy.
No, you can gain so much life. And like I think they could have like this is a very easy thing to do. I think is to have 15 more life than your starting life total, especially in commander. That is a little problematic to me. I almost wish they would have said, like, because I mean, having to gain 15 life in a single turn is a little more less likely, but at the same time, I guess that would make it a little more powerful if you're below your starting life total. So I'm not sure what their full intention was for this card.
Right.
But
I will say, I do think that there's going to be a lot of games of Commander that end with someone being at 55 life, and they play Angel, put boots on it, and attack. Yeah. And then they just take somebody out of the game.
I mean, you can even be at like, well, technically for that turn, you only have to be at.
Oh, true. 6
51.
Less.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 less.
4 less.
Yeah, 51.
So 51, because you're going to gain that 4. And it's actually whenever a creature.
Right.
So you don't even have to put boots on this thing if you have creatures on the field.
You do have to have attacked with Angel for that bottom trigger. So it needs to get in.
And so Angel of Destiny has to hit them for the bottom trigger. That's right. Okay. All creatures gain your life portion But
Right.
only the creature that Angel of Destiny hits would lose.
Or
the game.
attacked. It could
Or
have been
attacked.
blocked.
Oh,
It just has to have attacked somebody.
this card's OP. I'm just throwing that
It's
out
gonna,
there.
like I said, there's gonna be a lot of games that end with somebody being able to play this and immediately take someone out of the game. Which,
Hello,
I mean,
Aloro.
yeah, in Commander, like the games need to end. So like, if somebody's at enough life where they can do this and no one has removal, you had it coming.
Yep. I mean, it has a big booty, so I mean, it is tougher to remove outside of straight up removal. It's hard to damage it out, I guess I should say, or ping it out. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this card too. Like, I also like the art.
Yeah, art's pretty cool. I like the Zendikar Angels with the light, like the halo over their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a cool design choice.
It's my kind of aesthetic. Probably because it reminds me of like Jordy or like Cyclops. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. Oh, okay. But Cameron, what's next?
My next card definitely has a Nintendo Switch, and that's our first party card. I just made the same joke again because I wanted to, and I loved it. It was worth it. And so, Archpriest of Iona for 1 white mana. It's a creature human cleric. It's a star 2. And so, Archpriest of Iona's power is equal to the number of creatures in your party. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, so a cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier in the show about the party effects that scale up or that reduce mana cost are really good. And then the full party stuff is kind of just gravy. So like you play this for 1, it's a 1/2 because it's the cleric for your party. Turn 2, you play a warrior and a wizard. So now you're attacking for 3. And then turn 4, you play your 4th one. You get your ability, attack for a bunch. Like, but even if you never get there, if this is a 2/2 for 1 white mana, like,
Sure.
that's awesome.
I'll take it.
Like that's just on, like, and that's what I'm saying about the scaling effects. Like if the scaling part of the card is good, and it's good at 2 or 3 party members, that's really where I think you want to evaluate these cards and look at them. So this is one from like a air quotes competitive standpoint that I'm like really interested in. Like I definitely think that this could see play, especially in historic, if not standard. Like it's not going to be hard to get 2 to 3 creatures in your party.
No, especially if you like supplement with changelings or anything like that. It's gonna go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the party mechanic is gonna be surprising. If you do it right. You have to plan some things, but I think a EDH party deck, or you call it a Switch deck, whichever you want, is gonna be phenomenal. So we're kind of out of theme now. I think our next few sets aren't really themed together. But my next card is Confounding Conundrum. I hate this card.
I love this card.
Because it's good. Like, I hate it because someone else plays this against you and you're just like, come on. Blue and these cheap enchantments that just are inconvenient. It's like they're not so good that it's like I just need to get rid of that. It's just and that's what they're doing with this. So it's a 1 and a blue for an enchantment. When Confounding Conundrum enters the battlefield, draw a card. Okay, nothing crazy there. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand.
I like this a lot. So this is probably my number 12. Just because of its implications with all the landfall shenanigans, with all the ramp. Like, ramp decks have been dominating standard, and now there's finally like a way to punish them.
Yes.
Like, I'm super interested.
Yes. Like, I'm very pro this idea because it's not crazy. It just deters people from ramping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because, you know, it levels it out for if you're playing colors that don't ramp, for one. or if you just have a slower start in any format, because this comes out early. It's a 2-drop. And so, I mean, controlling kind of those really fast, aggressive ramp decks that get out into big things really fast, I like this.
Yep.
I'm very pro this, in a sense. Hate it, just because I do have some rampy decks. At the same time, I don't. I'm thinking about it. I don't have, like, crazy ramp. A lot of my ramp decks are, like, in creatures. Creature ramp. So maybe I'm more pro this than I think. But it had to go on my list because I hate it. But I love it. And everyone should run it because because it just adds some extra variety, kind of keeps people from just going ham into giant rampy things. And now I also have I have a red card that says, well, anyway, I can store my mana and call it good. So is it this and that? Get them out.
This and the Tyrant.
Oh.
My next card is also a blue card. It's part of a 3-card cycle in this set, and that is Inscription of Insight. And it's a 3 and a blue sorcery. It has kicker, 2 blue, so a total of 5 blue for the kicker effect. But you choose one, and then if the spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Scry 2, then draw 2. Or target player creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the number of cards in their hand. So, obviously the dream is that you can use this, bounce your opponent's things, draw 2 cards, create a 9/9, or some sort of giant illusion, and now you have this big threat, and you've refueled your hand, and you've tempoed your opponent. But should that not be a thing, 4 mana, get a 5/5, 4 mana, get a 6/6, it's pretty solid on its own. And then while it's not an instant Glimmer of Genius or some of the other 4 mana scry 2 draw 2s, that is something that you can do to pretty good effect. I think if you're using this to bounce 2 of your opponent's creatures, just that mode, you're probably doing it wrong.
Right.
But
correct me if I'm wrong. For cards like this, where there's multiple modes, they have to resolve in the order they are in the card should you choose all of them, correct?
Correct. So you will do, if you kick this and choose all the modes, you will bounce 2 creatures to their owner's hands, then do the scry 2, draw 2, then create the illusion.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I thought. You don't get to pick the order in which that happens. It's you pick all 3, they go down the list. And that's worth clarifying because there are certain things where, depending on what's on the field, where you might want something sooner rather than later on the card. But still, actually, really good card, and I would actually say one of the better insights. Well, there's only... We should mention this. You said this is the card you were talking about. Insights
this is 3
are only printed in 3 colors, and that's because they decided that 2 of the colors weren't good enough.
Yeah, so apparently Mark Rosewater on his blog was asked why there's only a black, blue, and green Insight. And apparently the reason is that they turned in a red and a white one, and then when it came time to balance the set, they couldn't make those 2 cool enough. And so instead of just printing bad cards that they knew no one would play, they just chose to not print them.
Which, I'm semi-pro that, because there are sometimes where they just print, the color series for something like the Insights. And some of them are just okay, whatever. That is not playable compared to, look how good this is in that color.
Right.
And this is just bleh. And so I'm more okay with them opting to just do away without them. Don't even let people risk pulling them in a pack.
Right, especially at rare.
Yes.
And I think it does open up the potential later. Probably not like this one, but for Modern Horizons 2, where you can get a red or white one that are now with more abilities that are usable because you're going to older sets, like you could have one that is cool, that is interesting to play.
All right. And also, like, yeah, you can, when you return to this plane, print your other two. Like, balance them and print the other two in the next Zendikar plane. I'm okay. That'd be cool, too. It's like, hey, look, it's the insights. It's the other two insights we didn't get to see. But
Exactly.
better.
Yeah.
Or print them at uncommon in the next set and just be like, it is what it is. My next card is Soul Shatter. It's a 2 and a black instant. Not gonna lie, I really like this art too.
Yeah, this art's very cool.
Mm-hmm. I like how like simple the art is in this set too, for the most part. But instant cost: each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Had to get the removal in there somewhere, and it hits everyone for one thing. It's well balanced. It's pretty cost effective. Instant speed. Get rid of that giant CMC threat, and it's a sack ability, so protects. I mean, it gets around a lot of the protection for those high cost things, like the Eldrazi, for instance.
Right, exactly what I was about to say. Like, it conveniently hits Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger that was printed into Historic. So, yeah, and so it gets around Indestructible, it gets around Hexproof. It gets around the product problem that Edict effects have, which is that if your opponent rammed into something big, they typically have elves or something that they can just sacrifice to the Edict.
Right.
But with this,
it tells them that they have to more specific. Yeah, and so this is a great, like, hey guys, you know, this is a great political card for the most part. It's like, hey, we're all going to get rid of something, but it's going to get rid of his biggest thing, and it's going to buy us some time. So I really like this type of card for Commander because everyone gets rid of their biggest threat for the most part. Well, not always, because sometimes your biggest threat isn't the most expensive card on the field, or on your side. But still, being able to get rid of those 6-7 costs when they have a bunch of smaller things is wonderful. And also forces them, like, it can also force the expensive planeswalkers to go bye-bye.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of planeswalkers, my next card, which I took from Chris, is Nissa of Shadowed Bows. 2 black-green legendary planeswalker Nissa. We finally have Nissa in black-green, as teased by like her backstory initially, that when she goes to Llanowar. So shout out to that.
And it does very Golgari things too, and I love this. This is I want this card so bad.
Yeah. So bad. Also that alt art that you have up on stream, very cool.
Very cool.
And even the regular art, I really like the regular art as well.
I like both arts. Like I have a hard time picking between them. Actually, I'd take either or.
Yeah. And so one of the reasons that I like Nissa is that we have seen Wizards experiment more with activated or triggered abilities on planeswalkers. This was a huge thing in War of the Spark, where pretty much every planeswalker had some sort of static triggered something ability in addition to their normal loyalty abilities. In Nissa, we kind of get to see what that would look like when not every card in the set has to have one of those. And so Nissa has landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a loyalty counter on Nissa. And then, and she comes in at 4 loyalty. I don't remember if I said that. And so then +1, you untap target land you control. You may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace until end of turn. It's still a land. So we're going to stop there for now. I want to talk about this ability. So 1, you always can untap the land, but you don't have to make it a creature. I really like that.
Right.
And then 2nd, haste and menace. Like, this is going to be attacking down because like this gets through Shark Typhoon. This gets through a lot of the like prominent decks that play planeswalkers but don't play a lot of blockers. So I really like that. Like, just having menace, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, menace is such a pain.
Right.
I love
think
it,
menace,
but I hate it.
Yeah, like I love it, but I hate it. I think menace and vigilance are probably the two most underrated keywords in the game.
I think menace more so than vigilance.
I agree.
People love vigilance, and things, but menace just like when I see menace anymore, I'm like, oh, that's inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when you're not paying attention, you're like, oh, okay, I left up a blocker.
Right.
Oh, I missed the keyword.
Right.
It has menace, and I can't block it now. Menace flying. What the
menace
junk?
flying is crazy. Oh, and if people don't know, menace means that the creature just has to be blocked by 2 other creatures. So you
Minimum
can't
of 2
block it with just
creatures,
one.
right? So you can't chump block it, or I mean, you can with, but it has to be with 2.
Right.
And also that you're turning your land into a 3/3.
Right.
Can we also just say that, like, if you play this like on, let's say, Nissa. Oh, I mean, go into her, read the rest of her card.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is also super exciting. So -5, so 1 more loyalty than she comes in with. If only you had a landfall that you could use to get her to 5 right away. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard with 2+1/+1 counters. Oh man. So
Nissa broken. Nissas are typically broken in some form.
It's going to be super fun because I like that the creature you get is not based on Nissa's loyalty.
True.
It's based on the number of lands you control. So I like that that's kind of balanced there. So you're not going to cheat in like a Gristlebrand with this. Like, I mean, of course, in Modern, you can already cheat in Gristlebrand on like turn 2. But like, you're not going to go too crazy with that. Like, you still have to have the lands. But I like that it's your hand or graveyard. And it gives you that ability to like grab that big thing that got killed earlier if you don't have cards in hand, or like hit them with something that they don't see coming, and then it pumps it up. And so like, I don't know, I'm just really excited for this card. I'll probably wait for this to leave standard, and then we'll be picking up some copies for EDH decks.
Yeah, I love everything about this card because, first of all, I mean, Golgari Recursion makes sense. Okay. Or ability to recur, but also getting the pump on with the +2 or +1/+1 counters, 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Good card for Atraxa. Should you send Atraxa to the grave?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an instant recursion on Atraxa with more counters, then proliferate at the end of your turn. What? What just happened? I'm just thinking of like decks and also just in my elf deck, be great to be able to have more recursion in that Golgari color, because this is an elf. Also, can we just say that they experiment more with mechanics with Nissa than any other planeswalker? X-Cost Nissa
was the first X-Cost planeswalker.
Yeah, we get a trigger, a loyalty trigger, landfall trigger now. I feel like Nissa just gets all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, just try it with Nissa. We'll see how it works.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, I'm happy we got to discuss the card because, well, we were going to anyway, even if you didn't pick it.
Right.
Speaking of elves,
segue.
I picked a rare Tajaru Paragon, or Tajaru. I don't know how they spell it. We need pronunciation guides for Magic. That's what needs to happen. But it's a 1 and a green creature elf for a 3/2. That's pretty good. 3/2 for 2.
Right.
Pretty crazy. Not only that, so it's not technically just a creature elf, although that's what the card says. But Tajaru Paragon is also a cleric, rogue, warrior, and a wizard. So it's your part. It is at least one of your party. Guaranteed. Does also have the ability Kicker 3. So when Tajaru Paragon enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a card that shares a creature type with it from amongst them and into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, I mean, card advantage, technically a fetch or top 6 clearing. Also, so you can get an elf, a cleric, a rogue, warrior, or a wizard guaranteed just because that's what you have.
Right.
And so, I mean, like for my elf deck, perfect. Get an elf. Anything else? If I'm running Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard, I mean, it's gonna be great. Got options. Got options. Granted, it's not super powerful because it goes to your hand, so you still have to cast it. And you do have, for you to get that ability, it is a kicker 3, but it's a kicker ability. So again, 2 decks I have that it goes into. Perfect. I love this.
And we got a comment in chat that, as usual, the elf is better than all the other races.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I would like to introduce you to my next card, Thieving Skydiver. For 1 and a blue, creature, merfolk, rogue. Kicker X can't be 0. Flying. When Thieving Skydiver enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. So the obvious play pattern in Commander is to play this on like turn 3 or turn 2 if you've ramped, and take an opponent's Soul Ring. Like, that is the correct play with this card. And then late game,
and then play your own Soul Ring.
Then you play your
with the Soul Ring you just stole.
Right. So like, there's so much fun shenanigans you can get into. And then also in Commander, there are just so many good artifacts that like are often like linchpins of people's strategies. So like, you're playing against someone with like Vildalkin Ori, so all their spells have flash. Sure would be a pain if you stole that from them and now all your cards had flash. Or take someone's boots and then those are now unequipped from their creature and equipped to Skydiver instead. And so now you can target their creature. Like, it gets around indestructible too. Like, take Darksteel Plate. Like, now their commander or whatever that was indestructible, like, can be the target or can be destroyed by destroy effects, and you have this on your side.
So this is better than this using a artifact destruction to destroy someone's boots. It's
right.
I'm taking those boots.
And I'm going to wear them out of the store.
I'm going to wear them. Your boots by mine. Or you can steal this little form engine, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
But we can debate on which is better, Merfolk or Elves, all day. No, I'm just pretty sure Merfolk typically finish higher than Elves in Modern, correct?
Not of late.
Not of late, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I know Elves and Merfolk are always good Modern decks.
Historically, I think Merfolk has been better, but
it's because it's blue.
Right, turns out. But with like, especially with Collected Company, and then there's the 1 black-green elf that when it enters, you deal damage equal to the number of elves you have. So like, the fact that you can Coco into 2 of those and then just dome your opponent for like 10, like, it turns out that's really good for 4 mana. And so yeah,
seems good. My next card. So I did pick, essentially, I tried to pick 1 card of every color. So, and I have. So now we're getting back into, mostly it's Gruul. So we're back to green. And my modal dual card, Turn Timber Symbiosis. It's expensive. Costs 4 and 3 green. It's a sorcery, but it also has, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that card has converted mana cost 3 or less, enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it. Put the rest on bottom of your library in any order. I like this because it actually balances itself out for a almost anti-whiff. It's like, okay, I only got like all these weenie creatures from my top 7, or even just 1, but at least you get the advantage of when it enters, it comes with 3 1/1 counters. So it's automatically you're getting +3/+3. Big plus for that. And 7 cards is a lot to go through. I mean, 7 is a expensive cost, especially for a mythic spell, but you have a chance to get something. You have a chance to get a bomb, get it out there, but if you do whiff and end up with something tiny, it has a buff on it, which is I really like. Something you don't see a lot of from these types of cards.
Right. And I think that's a good design. Like, I mean, to all the reasons you said, you're protected again if you grab something not good, or not. I say not good, not with a high CMC. So
Right.
there's a lot of talk going around about this being probably the best mythic for this cycle because it fits into the Primeval Titan decks in Modern.
Ooh.
And so those decks are already ramping. And so getting to 7 mana is not crazy. And then you can play this as a land, and then that deck plays bounce lands. So you can bounce this back to your hand to then cast it later in the game. And so that's pretty solid.
That's pretty good. So as we mentioned, this is also one of the Modal Duel cards. This is the mythic one. So we are seeing one of these where as it enters the battlefield, you can pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. I mean, otherwise it's still just a Timber tap for a green. And the land portion is called Turn Timber Serpentine Wood. But I'm Primeval Titan, man.
Mm-hmm. Turns out that card's good.
This is why I like Modern players, is because they think of these things, so I don't have to. And that's actually a piece that is worth throwing into even an EDH deck, I think. It's not super consistent in EDH, but I like that idea. Okay, return this. Now I'm going to get something. Like I'm going to sift through the top 7. I like that recursion idea for bouncing lands to your hand. Or, I mean, you do green-blue. What's it called?
Growth Spiral.
No, green-blue.
Euro.
What's the name of that color combo?
Simic.
Simic.
I thought you were trying to think of a green-blue card, Chris. I'm like, I'm going to know a lot more than this.
I'm thinking of how easy it is because... Where's the card I hate? Confounding Conundrum. Oh, never mind. It's an opponent. I was thinking it also hurt you or affected you because then you can, recur it too. Like ramp another card and automatically you have to bounce one back. Boom. You get your card back, cast it. But there's so many things in this synergy within that too. Just looking at that, but yeah, I'm down.
Something you might want to do with all those lands that get bounced from Confounding Conundrum is my next card, Sky Clave Pickaxe. For a single green mana, it is an artifact equipment. All equipment in this set has an ability that when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to target creature you control. And then this one has landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, then equip for 2 and a green. So I really like this card. I don't think it's going to be like a commander staple or even probably not even in historic unless there happens to be a really good landfall deck. But there is a new card in the set that didn't make either of our top 10s, but it's a 0/1 for red. Landfall, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So you play that turn 1 with Stomping Ground. Then you play this turn 2. Then you play your land, and now that creature's a 4/5 attacking. You have my attention.
I like these equipment that as they enter, they automatically get attached to. But it's not like it's a static effect either. I mean, I think that's really balanced.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Again, I think there's probably better equipment in this set than Skyclave. The white one probably in specific. But I really like this effect. I like that it is so synergistic with so many other aggro cards. And just the fact that you can equip it onto, then play your land, I think is really good.
Equip it onto that land you made with
Nissa.
With Nissa. Haste, Menace, +2/+2. 5/5, Hasty Menace, land thing.
Seems good.
Yeah. Okay. My next card, back to red.
Back to just more red.
More red. I'm pretty sure the rest of them. Well, no, there's an exception. But Valakut Awakening is a 2 and a red instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. So essentially, hand fix with a card draw, additional card to your hand. Seems nice.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Something red needs more of, and I like that it does the red draw style. Well, you have to get rid of everything in your hand, though.
Right. The more you get rid of, the more you get.
Exactly. And it doesn't make you... Advantage of this one, it's not discard like red normally does. It's put them on the bottom of your library. And then draw them. And also doesn't say that... This is weird. It doesn't tell you... And also, it's any number of cards from your hand. It doesn't say put your hand on the bottom of your library. But also doesn't specify order. So it doesn't say random. Doesn't say how to put them on the bottom, which is weird.
So it's really good with Grenzo.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't... I believe if it doesn't specify, you get to choose.
Yes.
And so...
Exactly.
So you can stack the bottom of your deck, in a sense, for decks that care about that.
Which there's very few, but this is the right color for the decks that do, for the most part. And yeah, this is a sleeper card for the most part. It's like, okay, I want to draw more. I want to get rid of half these cards, but there's normally you have to do it with all of them. Normally it says put your hand on the bottom to draw that many +1. Okay, done. I'll do it. This one is like, I have this one card I want to keep. I just can't play it yet, so I'm going to get rid of everything else. Refresh my hand a little bit. Get one extra card for the turn. And let's go. And I think this is good at any point in the game. Especially if you're starting to mana flood. Or you are starting to fizz out and drawing those lands. And you need to get more to get to that big card in your hand. This is great. You're going to get rid of the things you can't cast. Hopefully draw into lands and start getting back into the game. So this is great for red. Big fan of this card. And 3 cost isn't bad, especially for instant speed. Do it at the end of your opponent's turn.
Completely agree.
Oh, also it's a land.
Yeah. Also, Ender's tapped at red mana.
Yep.
So,
but still, why not?
I would guess of the double-faced cards, this is the one that will be a land the least often.
I would agree, because it doesn't make sense as much to do it as a land. You're typically going to be able to cast it, and it's worth drawing into more cards and getting an actual land than to just play it as a land.
Yep.
Unless it's like the last card in your hand, top deck it. It's like, okay, land. Maybe.
But even then, you cast this, you put 0 cards on the bottom, you would get 1 card.
That's true.
So it does at least cycle.
That's true.
So
for 3, but
for 3,
depending,
but
not bad. I really like. I'm just a big fan of this card. Red's getting great stuff for that they desperately need.
My next card is Luminarch Aspirant. For 1 and a white. Creature, human cleric. They're a 1/1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. So that can be the Luminarch Aspirant itself. That can be something else. So like worst case scenario, this is a 2/2 for 2. Like, okay. But then you go to combat on your next turn, it's now a 3/2 or 3/3 for 2. Like,
you start you pair it with the cards that say if you put a 1/1 counter on this, everything gets a 1/1
everything gets a counter. Yeah, exactly. Or things that just double, like is it Conclave Mentor for white and a green?
I think sounds
that,
right.
Like
maybe.
you pair it up with that, and then now you're getting 2 +1/+1 counters and hardened scales and like all those types of things. Like there's definitely a lot going on here that I'm very interested in.
Also, it's a part of your party.
Also, turns out, part of your party. And so, yeah, I really think this is a great card. I think this will see a lot of play, especially in standard.
This is going to be a card card in limited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, if anyone gets this card in limited, and you can get this out turn 1, or you get multiples, this is going to be a really obnoxious card in limited, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it.
Me too.
just because we have to talk about it. Omnath is now 4 colors.
Ooh, our elemental boy is all grown up.
He's getting there.
Almost.
Eventually,
got one more.
Yep, just got black left. So Omnath, Locus of Creation, red, green, white, blue. Just missing that last one. But now we have a 4-color commander deck. Legendary creature, elemental. He's not doing anything super crazy, not gonna lie. But when Omnath, Locus of Creation enters the battlefield, you're gonna draw a card. That's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a 4/4 for 4 already. Granted, it's hard to cast for turn 4. But also has the landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. Oh, you gain 4 life if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, add red, green, white, blue. If it's the third time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. Yeah.
I really like this.
So essentially, like if you can drop 3 lands, 3 lands in a turn. So your standard land drop is going to net you 4 life. Second land drop is going to net you 4 mana. Third land drop is going to do a ton of damage depending on what's all out there. Because it's each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. So
I'd like to present you with this, Chris. So you ramp into Omnath, say turn 3. Then you play a fetch land. And you get the first gain 4 life. The second, you get 4 mana. You have your 5th mana from your fetch land. Then you play, I don't know, literally any green card that gets you another land. And now you dome your opponent on like turn 3 or 4 for 4.
So, I mean, you just netted 8 points, like, without swinging with Omnath.
Right. That's a big swing. Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's just, I played lands.
Right.
I ramped. Omnath isn't bad.
I like this card.
It's definitely going to be a unique 4-color build, which I like. I'm excited to see what they do with him at 5 colors. He's probably going to be one of the more popular 5-color commanders just because Omnath has a good history in Magic. And even if he's not that great, people are going to want to build him just because it's Omnath.
Right. And I think it's also, as you've said, or alluded to, every single Omnath has gained a color. So first Omnath was green, then green red, then green red blue, now green red white blue. And so it's also really cool that you just get to play all your other Omnaths. Like that I think that's one of the things that always makes me sad, as like when I'm a fan of a character and then now I can't play the new version of that character in my deck. Marchesa is my go-to example, where Marchesa the Black Rose is Grixis, blue, red, black, but then Queen Marchesa, long may she reign, is Mardu, white, black, red. And so you can't play Queen Marchesa in your Marchesa the Black Rose.
Can't play Marchesa Tribal.
Right.
But you can play Omnath Tribal.
Yeah, you can. And so I think that's really cool.
I do too. And essentially he's just the spirit from Avatar.
Yes. And so,
just slowly picking up all the elements.
Right. He's slowly becoming the Avatar.
I mean, technically this is the most Avatar. This is Avatar. Omnath. The 4 elements. There's 4 pieces. Right. You got fire, earth, air, and water. I mean, that's a weak illusion, but what's up with all the Avatar references in this set?
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not. Sorry, we should say it's Korra specific. More so than all of Avatar. We see the giant spirit beings in Korra.
Oh, sure.
Nahiri is Korra.
Nahiri
firebending right now, or in the Nahiri lithoforming. Just saying.
Then also from a commander standpoint, I'm always up if they can give us more 4-color cards. Like,
true.
Especially as legendaries, because there's not, if you don't want to play partners, because a bunch of things do partner with Thrasios, but you kind of have to play Thrasios. I like that this is another 4-color commander, and I like that it's radically different than the one that we got in the Commander product, which is much more group huggy. And so I like that you now have a bit more of an aggro one if you want to do that 4-color build. And so, because I know like it'd be kind of sad if, as the second 4-color legendary creature, if it was the same play style. So I like that it is something different for people that want to do that approach.
Bad thing about this on that, you can't play the new Nissa.
This is true.
It's unfortunate.
You just gotta wait though.
Yep.
5-color Omnath. Eventually it's gonna happen.
One day. It's gonna be a really cool release, I think.
Time for my last card. And we don't technically do these as like a top rating, but this is my favorite card from the set. And I'm super excited for this, both for like 60 card formats, but especially for Commander. And that's Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats, for 4 black red. Legendary creature, vampire rogue. This spell costs 1 less for each creature in your party, and it's a 4/4. Then it has flying, death touch, and haste, and other creatures you control have death touch. Then, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. Oh boy. So this goes right into Marchesa, because it turns out Marchesa is a wizard. So that counts as that for your party. So you can turn 4 Marchesa into turn 5 Zagras. You now give all of your +1/+1 counter creatures death touch. So even if they do die, they just come back and they still have death touch. And then for like standard, like if you can get this to just 1 less, a 5 mana flying haste 4/4 is really good.
Flying death touch haste.
Right, but like even excluding all that, just vanilla card. Well, I guess that's French vanilla, but a 5 mana 4/4 flying haste is really good. But then you also get all the other stuff on top of it, like
the fact that it gives all your creatures death touch,
right,
pisses me off.
And so this gets me excited, especially because we did get to see a little bit of like keyword tribal from Ikoria, and so now we're seeing a Lord for death touch. And so I think that's really exciting. Again, Chris, you will be seeing this card across the table from you.
No, I won't.
just gotta beat him first.
I'm gonna play my mono white deck against this deck, which is just there's no creatures in the deck. It's just removal.
All board wipes.
It's board wipes and removal, target removal. That's all it is. It's just all the board wipes in the game. Boom. Just kidding. I still have to get to the point where I can cast them, but I mean haste. Still have to get around that piece.
Also, it's a vampire for Edgar Markov. Like, turns out.
Also giving all your vampires death touch seems good.
Turns out.
And a token deck.
Yeah, seems fun. I'm excited.
And also they're vampire warriors, so I mean, right?
They are just vampires.
They are just vampires, thank God.
And so I did check that. And
because you get a token when you cast a vampire. So if it was a vampire warrior, that's automatically -1.
Right. But I'm also sad because a lot of the vampires from Innistrad are vampire knights.
Well,
not warriors.
Or even Innistrad, they were knights?
There's a lot. I mean, not all of them by any means, but there are a lot of knights that are vampires. And
so my last card and our last card of the night for the most part is Jace Mirror Mage. It's not that great, but we just want to throw it out there because, again, this is them playing with Planeswalkers, and this is actually pretty cool. So 1 and 2 blue for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. Pretty good. 3 cost Planeswalkers are typically pretty broken to begin with. It has a kicker for a cost of 2, so essentially 5. When Jace Mirror Mage enters the battlefield, if Jace was kicked, create a token that's a copy of Jace Mirror Mage, except it's not legendary and its starting loyalty is 1.
Yep.
Yeah, so you get, for 5, you get 2 Jace Mirror Mages. Okay.
I
Next.
like it.
+1, scry 2. Nothing crazy, but scry 4 essentially, potentially.
Right.
Scry 2 twice, potentially. Or you also have the 0 ability. Draw a card and reveal it. Remove a number of loyalty counters equal to the card's converted mana cost from Jace Mirror Mage. Nothing crazy there, but still. Like, most of the time, you're probably just going to be scrying. Just being able to scry 2 twice.
Right. And the power of this is really nice, too, since it is, like while the individual abilities are not good, the fact that you can get 2 of these for 5 and then set up, like, that ability for itself. So you can use your real Jace +2 to scry 2, go up to 6.
+1 to scry 2.
Yeah, +1 to scry 2, go up to 5. Thank you. And then you can either put a land on top to save your other Jace, or just put it like bottom both and just spin the wheel. And worst case scenario, your other Jace becomes a 2-mana draw a card. Like,
yep.
That's good.
Great utility in Planeswalker decks, too. So definitely going in Atraxa. First of all, I don't have a Jace in Atraxa. So, I mean, Super Friends, you need a Jace somewhere, right? So, this is the Jace that goes in, finally. Because I just never found a place for the other Jaces. Don't really care for the other Jaces. This Jace, though, especially since it's potentially 2 Planeswalkers on the field, and then some fixing to assist in seeing if I can get cycled through a little quicker and get more consistency. I'm down for that. For a 3-cost Planeswalker that I'm just going to also proliferate the crap out of. Yeah. Great card. Again, playing with that kicker mechanic. I really like that. Playing with those mechanics on Planeswalkers especially. So static abilities, we've seen them do static abilities. It's a little strong, but these triggered abilities, I like. A little more, evens it out a little more. Doesn't make him too crazy. But yeah, and also we should just say in the set there was only 3 Planeswalkers.
Sure is nice to be back to normal amount of Planeswalkers. Like, after War of the Spark, like, and now granted, I loved War of the Spark Limited, but like, I do have to say, it feels nice that there's not going to be like 8 billion Planeswalkers in Standard once Zendikar Rising comes out.
Right.
Like,
I would have liked to see like one more Planeswalker, but they did cover all 5 colors. So,
right.
So, I mean, you have Nahiri, Burros, Red, White, Golgari, Nissa, Black, Green, and now we have Blue Jace. So, I mean, they did all right. I will give them that. But I just like at least seeing more. Like, I like the 4 to 5 range. Like, one just across the board.
I think their rule is that they default to 3, and they try to keep it consistent to that amount.
I just want more new Planeswalkers.
Right. I think, and that's where I definitely want to be. But I think that what we might see some is that they'll do 2 Planeswalkers in one set, 4 in another. Right. So it'll even out to 6 between the 2 sets, but we'll see them kind of shifting those around.
Like, just thinking back to, I like them to further develop some of the Planeswalkers they introduced in War of the Spark that we didn't see. Like, is it the Traveler or whatever?
The Wanderer.
The Wanderer. Yeah. I want more of that. I want more of her.
Right.
Just in general. Like, good. Let's get more. But yeah. All in all, I'm pretty excited for the set. Great things. Also, as a result of this set, we should say this is also the Commander series for the year coming out, or the next another Commander series coming out for this set. And I'm excited for that. Also, the Commander's a Elf Spirit.
And so for this, the Commander decks are more in line with the intro decks, or like the Planeswalker decks that we normally see. And so there's not as many new cards. There's only 3 new cards per deck.
Right.
But they look pretty fun. I really like there's a blue-black rogue deck and then a Naya landfall deck. And I really like the rogue deck because I'm also just like super into tribal. So like, that's where I'm at.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pro this because it's also a good way to ultimately, a lot of the cards are going to be from the Zendikar set itself. So it's a good way to get specific cards at a retail price or a MSRP price instead of a value price. Ultimately, once we have the full... Do we have the full deck list?
Yes, full deck lists are out.
So look at those deck lists. I mean, if there's specific cards you want from the set, and because you're playing EDH, it's a good route to go. Even if you're just going to tear them down and throw them in other decks, but you also get the commander exclusive commanders, essentially, which is super cool. And yeah, there's just great stuff. Also, land arts, again, Zendikar, phenomenal. They always do great. Reprints.
Right.
Reprints.
And so that brings us to the end of our Zendikar Rising top 10. Chris, as always, I love these episodes.
Me too.
It's always great to talk about new cards. Next week, the whole cast will be on, and our top 3 is going to be 3 things we wish we were good at. So I'm really excited to, A, have to self-reflect, but B, to kind of get to learn a little bit.
That'd be reasonable.
I mean,
wish I was good at flying or just had the ability.
The general rules of top 3 is that there are no rules. So technically you do you. But
the week after, we're going to do the top 3 things we wish our co-hosts were good at.
Ayo.
I'm just kidding.
And so I'm really excited for that. Really excited to have us all back and chatting about whatever it is that we decide to bring. And so...
And then obviously this Wednesday I will also be streaming Super Mario RPG. So tune in around 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. See if I can get another star. I'm surprised how quickly this game is going, but
yeah, you're trucking through it.
Maybe this game is just not as long as I remember. Square used to be notorious for like 80-hour games. I'm not sure this is one of them.
I did look it up, and it was like 18 or 616 or something like that. So
that's nothing.
Right.
Oh man. I'm gonna turn it into like 24 because I'm just gonna get to a point where I'm just gonna grind for like an episode in a week.
But with that, listeners, as always, you can find us on our social media at OneGeek411 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our PlayStation community. You can also, of course, join us on our Discord and chat with us between the episodes, and shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can watch live Monday nights at 7:15 Mountain Time right here on Twitch. And after every episode, we have a post-show chat with whoever is around. And then you can find the videos over on our YouTube as well. And then you can encourage you to rate and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. And you can check out our show notes at onegeek411.com. While you're there, you can find all the episodes of our sister cast, Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust. And then, as always, you can find us on our personal social medias. I'm Hemar Whittill.
I'm not so foreign.
And it's been a great week.
Wash your hands.